Hello and welcome to another episode of Attacking Third, a CBS Sports soccer podcast. I'm Sandra Herrera, lead NWSL writer for CBS Sports, joined today, as always, by my colleague and co-host Lisa Roman, broadcaster and analyst for CBS Sports. On today's episode, we are going to have an NWSL semifinal recap. Attacking Third is presented by Delta Airlines, the official airline of the National Women's Soccer League. Keep climbing. Hello to everybody joining us live. A quick reminder that you can catch a live Attacking Third episode at the NWSL Championship. That's right, we are doing a live show. Lisa and I will be at Audi Field in Washington, D.C. on October 29th before the NWSL Finals. So please join us for a live pregame show with special guests and analysis. What a weekend. What a time. We can celebrate leading all the way up. The championship final is here. We've got two finalists. We're going to talk about it. We're going to chat about both semifinal matches, talk about who advanced. If you are joining us live, spoiler alert, we're going to talk about it all. Score lines, goal scores, who actually won, who actually lost. We're going to chat about it all, and we're going to do it together, me and you, Lisa. How you doing tonight?
I am doing great. I'm coming at you live from a hotel, so apologies in advance about the spotty internet, but hey, that's what happens when you're calling games and you're traveling. But I'm still here and thrilled to chat with you about this, Sandra. Thrilled to be going live on Sunday night because we have two finalists heading to Washington, D.C., and we had some incredible, chaotic semifinal matches that we get to chat about and talk about. And for anyone curious, yes, the Phillies did win tonight. They're headed to the World Series as well. So my heart is very happy and my heart is very full. And of course, we got two great NWSL games because it does always come back to that. But yeah, I'm really thrilled and excited to chat with you about these, Sandra, because these were good games. And you and I haven't chatted yet about them because I was on the call for the second match tonight. So I haven't even had time to get your thoughts on it. And that's really, I'm thrilled to hear your thoughts. I'm really excited about that.
Listen, I thought both of these semifinals deliver. We're gonna break them down one by one, but I did notice that too. I don't like to bother you when you're on a call, so I was like, listen, you got to have your focus. I'm not gonna like blow her up.
My phone's not even on. It's
Yeah.
on do not disturb. It's put away. I can't even look at anything on there. It's just like focusing on my notes, on the stats, and on the game.
Yeah, so I was like, let me not. Like, she's working. I said we're gonna work together a little bit later. But watching the two of these semifinals, I absolutely thought they delivered. I had to hop on that good old fashioned internet, just throw out all my takes out there, right, and recap these matches and talk about the takeaways. And if you're looking for a recap, if you like to read your recaps or game analysis instead of listening to a show, you can go ahead and find all of that on cbssports.com. But a couple thrillers for sure. We had Portland Thorns versus San Diego Wave FC in this first semifinal. Portland Thorns punching their ticket to the NWSL Championship final defeat. San Diego Wave 2-1 at Providence Park. Scenes, Lisa, absolute scenes in this one. We had a lot of content coming through the pipeline this week in celebration of the semifinals. We had conversations with Morgan Weaver, with players of all the teams leading into this one. But watching this game, I couldn't help but think about that interview that we had with Morgan Weaver, because the confidence and the energy coming out of that interview with that player, it made me feel confident in our pick, Lisa, because I believe, memory serves me correct, we both went with Portland in this one.
Yeah, we both went with Portland getting the win in this match. And I mean, 8th appearance for the Thorns in the playoffs, and they punched their ticket authoritatively into the NWSL Championship with the goals coming. A good fight from San Diego, right? I mean, we're going to talk about it and we're going to break it all down. I agree. I think that Morgan Weaver, she looked energetic out there. I mean, the entire Portland team looked ready to go, clicking on all cylinders. They had chances, they had opportunities, and you could tell that Providence Park was just rocking. The fans showed up for sure for this match.
I was absolutely just like loving everything coming in on the TV, on the stream, watching it happen, and the build up to that is also, the starting lineups that drop, and I think we should start there. When these two 11s dropped, again, we were doing the previews, we were curious, we're like, who's going to be lining up for who and where, what's San Diego going to look like with potential question marks around some of their players. They're the team entering this semifinal on a 120 minutes, right? In a quarterfinal that went in extra time, going up against a Thorns team that hadn't played in about 3 weeks, right? They earned that semifinal bye with their second place finish in the league. So what was that going to look like? So when these two lineups drop, my immediate reaction was like, wow, like Christine Sinclair's on the bench. And you know what? It didn't feel like um this Thorns team is just so deep. That was something that we were talking about as well in the preview. I was like, this is really going to be a little bit of a head coaching battle for me personally in the preview, that I was more intrigued in what we were going to see in Wilkinson versus Stoney in this match, and compared to certain individual matchups that we might have seen on the pitch. So watching that drop from Wilkinson, I was like, you know what? This seems fine. This seems fine.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't love a Christine Sinclair or a Crystal Dunn coming off the bench and available for you, right? And then the other side of things for San Diego seemed like mostly an ideal lineup for Stoney, but Jakobsen slated to get the start in this one. What were some of your thoughts when these 11s dropped?
Yeah, I mean, Christine Sinclair, of course, circling that name as soon as she wasn't listed in the lineup, especially because after the availability reports came out, there was nothing nefarious or questionable about Sinclair and what her role would be in this game. But it's so true and so telling of the depth of this Portland bench and what they have been able to do. But the first playoff match in Thorns history that Sink has not started. Christine Sinclair has not started. She did get in towards the end of this match. But yeah, I think when you looked at the San Diego starting lineup, you and I talked about the game changers for the Wave team and Casey Stoney's side. And I said that Jakobsen was a game changer coming in off the bench for San Diego against Chicago. Also that Doniak is a game changer off the bench, but we saw Jakobsen in for Kelsey Turnbow. And I honestly was okay with that change because how good of a quarterfinal match Jakobsen had. And that's what Casey Stoney wanted in this match, to be on the front foot, to come out with an attacking prowess. And that was having Jakobsen in the starting lineup. Also for Portland, Yasmin Ryan. We talked about her coming off the bench and being a game changer for Rian Wilkinson. She ends up getting the start alongside Smith and Weaver. And to see Sauerbrunn, Hubley in the back, and then Germa, of course, holding it down defensively in the center back alongside Real for San Diego Wave. But I mean, I think that was the biggest one, right? Jakobsen coming in and then Sink being on the bench to start this game. But to see how this game unfolded and how it got off to an incredibly quick start. I mean, both of these matches tonight, a quick start, but the opening goal coming from San Diego, it's Taylor Korniak on an assist from Alex Morgan, and it was poor defense from Portland. I am going to be very blatantly honest, very poor defense from Portland, because Alex Morgan had so much time in the wide areas to pick out who she was going to target inside the box. And of course, you're going to target Taylor Korniak on a cross in from a wide area, and Korniak loses the defender. She had no one around her. So it was a beautiful setup. Now, if you interchange either one of those players, whether it's not Morgan on the flank or not Korniak in the center, I'm not even sure that that's a goal. That's just how beautiful and how perfectly placed it was on both ends of it. And for San Diego to start this match with a bang in the opening 10 minutes to get on the board first, I think it shocked Portland a little bit and it shook them. Now, to be at home, though, they have the boost of Providence Park, of that team, and the response coming in the 20th minute from Rocky Rodriguez. Holy cow. I mean, the header from Korniak was brilliant. I mean, like, picture perfect, right? You could take a photo of that and frame it, but then the goals got better. 3 goals in this match, and they progressively got better, Sandra.
Lisa, look, that when that opening goal happened,
I know,
against Korniak, it took everything in me to refrain from texting you. I said, you know what? I'll just save it for the podcast. I'm going to ask my girl about it when we get here live. But I'm sorry, this opening goal, it took them 10 minutes to break open this goal scoring. And what else was it? Morgan lifting up her head, seeing Korniak in space, and you just see Korniak just sort of drifting, waving, utilizing that position. Didn't even have to utilize any hops on this one. Just needed her 6-1 frame and dink, just with the header, back of the net. Talk to me about the defense on this one, Lisa. I need to hear it from you.
I mean, Sandra, there's nothing really to talk about. There was no defense.
Ugh.
Like, they were just non-existent, right?
Huh.
You said it. Taylor Korniak didn't even have to jump. Alex Morgan had so much time to dribble the ball around the flank. No one from Portland closing her down. And that's a player that you cannot give that much time to. That's where it starts. And because Morgan has so much time, she can place Korniak perfectly and give her a perfect ball to her head. And Korniak is just sitting between Sauerbrunn and Hubley in the back line. Neither of them slide to pick her up or challenge. And I mean, defensively, how it should be done is everyone knows that Korniak is the tallest player on the field. Portland doesn't even have anyone to really compete or challenge against that. So on situations like that, Portland needs one defender in front of Korniak, one in behind. That way you sandwich her, you both go up and challenge, bump her off the ball, at least make it difficult, because it was way too easy for the cross to come in and the header. I mean, to talk about the defense is impossible because there was none.
I love it. Period. There was none in this moment. But look, it didn't strike me in this moment when the wave went up 1-0, under 10 minutes, right? Didn't strike me as a moment of panic for this Portland Thorns team. I think we saw an immediate response out of Portland from this goal. You saw that back line and that defense huddle up immediately. You saw Becky Sauerbrunn getting everybody in a huddle saying, okay, well, let's not do that again, and frankly, it worked. We saw what it took around a dozen minutes or so to have this equalizer take place for the Thorns. And my goodness, what an absolute stunner from Rocky Rodriguez. Outrageous volley to just sort of scorch the back of the net for the equalizer here. Fantastic stuff on this goal.
I mean, this goal was so incredibly fantastic. It was a poor giveaway in the midfield. And then as this ball comes down, a corner kick for Portland then as this play developed, and this was a set piece opportunity. And the Korniak goal also coming from a wide area service into the box, and that's what this was for Portland. And San Diego can't clear it cleanly. And actually, as it's bouncing towards Rodriguez, her first touch is not as great maybe as she would have wanted, because the ball goes straight up in the air. That is no problem for Rocky Rodriguez, though, because this volley that she took was a goal of the weekend for sure, because it was so incredible how, I don't even know how she did it. Go to Attacking Third YouTube. Watch the highlights because it's fantastic.
It's so funny that you mentioned that first touch too, because it was so good that it looks like just like she planned it. Like that's exactly how she wrote it out and how she planned it. But even in that sense, maybe it should be considered like, one of those sort of top 10 goals, right? On the Sports Center type goals, where it just does sort of have the presence of mind to be like, well, it's a awkward touch. Let me still make the most of it. And then still doing that. Absolutely brilliant. I think it completely negated that kind of uncharacteristic, sort of early goal that they conceded in this game at home. And it's one of those goals that completely, not only does it like hit the reset button for another team in terms of momentum, it's one of those goals where it's like you really just sort of continue to take control of the game moving forward. I thought the first half was pretty good in terms of the action that we saw, pretty end to end. But by the time halftime rolled around, it was mostly like fairly even in offensive stats in this game. San Diego narrowly kind of winning some of those first half offensive statistics. You had the total shots. 7 for San Diego compared to the 6 by Portland. They had the 4 attempts on target compared to 3 from the Thorns. So it was we're talking like very narrow margins for these two teams as they went level into second half. And for me, it just heightened that like head coaches battle for me even more because of those narrow margins and because of the even scoreline. I was like, okay, who is going to make the adjustment first, and like who are we going to see it from, and what are we going to see um in the picture and during the game. And so watching this game get started in the second half, Lisa, I felt Thorns did a really good job of presenting some pretty good pressure in the early phases of this game. And because of that, I think it sort of forced Casey Stoney's hand a little bit early. Well, not early, but first. We'll just say first. They forced her hand first. So both coaches making some substitutions here around the same time. So you had Mackenzie Doniak coming on in for Jaden Shaw, and then we had Crystal Dunn coming on in for Rocky Rodriguez about 2 minutes apart, just around the hour mark here. And I think, needless to say, these are two players I think for these teams who have had significant roles for their teams in general. But Doniak has been a player that has really been bringing it on for the San Diego Wave side, particularly during their second half of the season for me. And then you had somebody in Crystal Dunn who's an outstanding soccer player, but she's someone who's been building up her minutes with this Thorns team over the last 4 to 5 appearances or so. Really, we started seeing her get into action around September or so with the Thorns. So I was very curious as to what we were going to see out of this half from these two particular substitutions.
Yeah, I think starting the half, it was definitely even. And that's kind of why we saw these substitutes happening just around the hour mark. As you mentioned, San Diego bringing in Doniak first, and then just a few minutes later, Dunn coming in, because the coaches realized like they needed something to shake it up. And Shaw was the Shaw and Doniak play very differently. Shaw is incredibly technical. She's incredibly young, right? 17 years old for this side. Yeah. She has a nose for the goal, though. She can get into those options. She's quick, and she's got a great touch on the ball. Now, Doniak, much more physical. She's going to go in and body up against a player, receive the ball at her feet, hold it up, allow the play to develop a little bit, drop it back, and then that allows San Diego's midfield to find someone like Morgan. And this match between Portland and San Diego was so physical that bringing in Doniak for Casey Stoney was a fantastic substitute. It just provides that physical presence, especially in the attacking end, that frankly, San Diego needed to relieve some of the pressure off Morgan, because Morgan was getting banged around. She was getting stuck in so many tackles and just being attacked from every which way. So to add that physical presence in Doniak, great move by Stoney. And then to take out Rodriguez, the goal scorer, Rhian Wilkinson does that and brings in a Crystal Dunn, almost a like-for-like substitute in that way, in terms of their attacking presence and what they're able to do. Now, Crystal Dunn is much more comfortable on the ball, dribbling at defenders and going forward, whereas Rodriguez is really going to be that link and that connector, seeking only 1-2 touches and then getting rid of it. But we saw a shift happen after that 60-minute mark, because Dunn was getting on the ball more, creating a lot of chances. I think that Portland shift, as soon as Dunn came in, Dunn provided so much more in the attacking presence of the field that allowed her to be more attacking minded and less defensive minded in the role that she was in, because she was creating and contributing in those chances. So it gave an offensive spark to Portland in that substitute in the 62nd minute with Dunn.
Yeah, 100%. I'm in agreement with you. And sort of seeing that shift, that counteracting shift, I thought that maybe we would see a couple more substitutions from, by Stoney, and we did, but they were so late in the game. I was very surprised, a little disappointed to not see Amira Ali come into this game a little bit, a little bit earlier. Quite frankly, I don't think that's a player that you keep for that late. But in the timing of in the tempo in which this game was taking place, we saw a little bit of a shift, right? That early kind of phase of pressure in the second half that Portland brought on, that Dunn continued to help facilitate and generate. We saw San Diego try to steal some momentum a little bit, maybe in those closing 10 minutes of regulation, and we started to see and get the feeling, right? At least I did. I said, "Uh-oh, are we going to have, another possibility of extra time? And what is San Diego going to look like if they have to play another playoff game with extra time?" And perhaps that was some of the rationale around having somebody like, an Ali or a Pogacar coming in, late into the game to perhaps have the legs to chase, in an extra time scenario. But you know what? It just never got there because chaos o'clock, my favorite time. My favorite time is chaos o'clock. It's 90-minute plus whatever stoppage time, and my goodness, this could not have been any more prophetic, quite frankly. And the game winner going to Crystal Dunn in 90th plus 3 minutes of stoppage time. Outstanding and outrageous scenes. You love to see it.
5 months after giving birth, not only is she back playing professional soccer and with the United States women's national team, but she's checking into a game in the 60th minute, completely changing everything, and then getting the game winner to advance her team into the NWSL Championship. And she does it with such ease. That's like the coolest thing about it. It's effortless. It is from within. It's because Dunn is just so talented that she is able to get this goal and create this opportunity for Portland to advance, because Kaylin Sheridan, goalkeeper for San Diego, was putting up some huge stops, 6 saves throughout this match. And this one was never going to be saved. It was a similar setup to the Rocky Rodriguez goal in the sense that it was a
Both
volley,
these
but
goals, yes.
both of them fantastic. Now, Rodriguez's goal, weird first touch, so the ball goes straight up in the air and it becomes a clean volley for Rodriguez. This one, Dunn is able to get a great touch to settle it, and then it's a half volley into the upper 90 corner. I mean, Sheridan didn't have a chance, and you knew as soon as it left her foot, Dunn knew as soon as it left her foot that it was finding the back of the net. Chills. Like, that goal gave me chills. I'm telling you, the goals in this match, from Korniak to Rodriguez to Dunn, they got better as the match went on, and they were playoff goals. They were chaos playoff goals.
Both of these goals by the Portland Thorns also coming off of like fractured or like broken set pieces, like off of these corner kicks, right? That didn't necessarily get cleared away. And that's another like bit of an X factor that a team has, is they're going into a championship final now, like things that you're going to look for to try to have those extra advantages against the opposition. But just unreal of a moment, just and it just is, like I said, it couldn't have been any more it couldn't have been written any better, right? Unless it was written by a prophet. And I'm just kind of like thinking back to this. It's just an absolute maddening scenario that you have an athlete that exists on earth right now who just gave birth to a child in May and somehow comes into this moment and provides not just the goal, but the game winner in this one. It's Crystal Dunn. That's Marcel's mama getting the game winner. Outstanding. We love to see it. And, it was a very, very special moment, quite frankly. I just don't know if any of us, covering this or, doing all of the work around it for previewing and talking about it and making picks could have ever made that kind of prediction. So to just sort of see it happening in real time is very, very, very special. And look, a player, an athlete like Crystal Dunn only looks like she's going to be getting stronger as she continues to get more time on the pitch. And it just, I don't, that type of goal and that type of moment, it's so difficult, I think, if you're the opposition to try to come back from that, even with the extra added stoppage time on top of the stoppage time if you're San Diego Wave.
Oh yeah, there was so much time at the end of this. I think it was 4 minutes added on. Correct me if I'm wrong. But at the end of this, that's when the stoppage time goal was scored by Dunn. It came in the 90th minute +3, and this team continued to play on for like another 2, 3, 4 minutes, and you were expecting the whistle to blow at any point, but it just didn't. And as the full 90 went on, yes, I think it was pretty even overall between these two, but the progression and the pressure from Portland as the match continued got heavier and got stronger. Smith found herself on the ball a lot in this game before she was subbed out, and getting into those half spaces, pulling off Girma along San Diego's back line, picking up the ball. This Portland side looked like they knew what they wanted. They were clicking on all cylinders. They knew how to attack. I think Bella Bigsby had a great game, 3 saves in this match. But I think the biggest one coming at the end of the first half, and to go into the halftime at a 1-1 because of that huge save from Bigsby at the very end of the half. I think that helped Portland with their momentum and their game plan for the second 45 minutes.
Absolutely. Had to be a winner. There had to be a loser. It's the playoffs. That's how things shake out. San Diego's historic season coming to an end in the NWSL semifinal. We bid them farewell from the postseason, making history all along the way. California expansion side, California team making the playoffs for the first time in their inaugural season. So many end of the year award nominations as well. You know, Rookie of the Year, MVP, Defender of the Year, Goalkeeper of the Year, Coach of the Year. It goes on and on and on.
I mean, I was really impressed with the run that San Diego went on this year. I think that it's only right to kind of give them a shout out at the end of this recap, because this is a team that sat at the top of the standings in their very first year for 10 straight weeks in this league. That is incredibly competitive. They made it not only into the playoffs, but they hosted a first round playoff. They made it to the semifinal. In our preview, we talked about how it might have been time for the magic to run out, but the magic was there for the San Diego side all season. The fact that they even made it this far is a huge accomplishment for every single player on that team. But just, I think the lack of depth of San Diego's bench and injuries maybe plaguing them a little bit towards the end of it showed in this match, and the experience of a Portland side with their fan base around them. But it was a fantastic run for San Diego in this inaugural year.
Yeah, it was exciting to cover them through the regular season and also this postseason as well. But meeting their end at Portland, or against Portland in Portland, 2-1 the final scoreline in that one. Portland Thorns were the first to stake their place in the NWSL Championship final. But we've got one more game to get through to talk about who they'll be meeting in that championship final, and we will do that right after a quick break.
This October,
hello.
When you bundle Paramount Plus with Showtime, no one will hear you stream.
Don't say that. Holy headless horsewoman!
I'll be right back.
There's something new out there.
Watch it all here.
This neighborhood is haunted.
Stream Paramount Plus with Showtime. Bundle if you dare.
Welcome back to Attacking Third. And here at Attacking Third on CBS Sports, we're committed to bringing you the best of the best from around the National Women's Soccer League. And we cannot do that without being able to travel to get you the stories that you all enjoy. But the best stories aren't the ones that we tell you. They're the ones you live. Meeting people in person, facing challenges face to face, and getting out of your hometown and your comfort zone. Delta knows how important it is to see a different point of view from a different point of view. So for those who want their own story to tell, Delta Airlines has a world full of places to start. Delta Airlines, the official airline of the National Women's Soccer League.
You love to hear it. You love to see it. You know, there's an NWSL Championship coming up pretty soon on October 29th where we're going to do a live show. And I'm just saying, like, if you are making plans to head on out to DC, maybe you need an airline, and maybe that airline is Delta. Who knows?
You sure do. If you're not coming from the East Coast, hop on Delta, get yourself to DC, watch the championship because we know the two teams headed there, and you can come see an Attacking Third live show. I mean, how else would you want to spend the last weekend in October?
Yeah, exactly. That's really why people are coming to DC, last I heard, perhaps. I don't know. We'll see. Who else is going to join the Portland Thorns and us in DC, Lisa? We had to find out with OL Reign and Kansas City Current, these two teams going head to head at Lumen Field in Seattle, Washington. This one ending 2-0, and it's Kansas City Current going to the NWSL Championship final after defeating OL Reign in the semifinal. Again, we talk about scenes, Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep talking about these scenes. Kansas City putting together the season that they have been putting together, and B, doing all of this in the postseason on the road. It's been delightful to cover. We have to talk about the game and how they made this happen, just like we did with Portland and San Diego. Let's talk a little bit about these starting 11s. When these lineups dropped, Lisa, did anything reach out to you and move you? Did you look at any of them and say, this is interesting, or how is this going to work? What did you think when you saw these starting 11s?
Well, just one change for Laura Harvey's side from the last time OL Reign played October 1st. But I mean, that's not unusual. Out of 22 games, OL Reign had 21 different lineups, and all the heavy hitters for OL Reign out on the pitch to start with Haitema, Lavelle, Rapinoe, Balser, Fishlock, Quinn, Huerta, Cook, Hyatt, Barnes, Tolis, Joyce. Like, honestly, all 11 players, the true heavy hitters for this OL Reign side. So no real surprises in what Laura Harvey was throwing out there. I mean, it's a lot of what we expected heading into this one. For Kansas City Current, we talked about Lavoisier dealing with an injury. She is reported to have torn her ACL, so we knew she was unavailable for this match. And that Desiree Scott, after serving her suspension in the quarterfinal for Kansas City against Houston, she was back and available. So not too surprised to see Scott back in and Lavoisier out, just based on availability report and understanding. But looking at how these teams lined up, I wasn't sure where Alex Loera was going to play, because Lavoisier played much higher up the pitch, and Alex Loera played that defensive 6 in the first match for Kansas City against Houston. But that's Desi Scott's role, that defensive 6 midfield. And when looking at OL Reign's midfield against Kansas City's midfield, I'll say it in our preview. I said that OL Reign was going to win the midfield battle. They're just better in the midfield. And I think that Matt Potter knew that, looked at what OL Reign was going to bring to the table and said, we need a double pivot when we don't have the ball. And we need 8 players behind the ball when we don't have the ball, because the defensive game plan for Kansas City started in the first minute with Alex Loera in the midfield, along with Desiree Scott. Loera was the double defensive mid pivot alongside Scott when Kansas City was out of possession. In possession, Loera had the freedom to spring forward and contribute in the attack. And I think that's was the most beneficial position for Loera. We've seen Loera all over the pitch for this Kansas City side. And tonight's role for Loera, probably my favorite that I've seen her in all year, doing the defensive work out of possession and then in possession contributing into the attack.
Getting the first goal in the opening 4 minutes of this game. Alex Loera said, I don't want Rookie of the Year. Keep it. I'm chasing championships. Getting on the scoreboard first early for Kansas City. And again, Lisa, I had to refrain from texting you because I said, I'm going to ask her on the show. We'll just keep it for the podcast. A mad scramble in this moment inside the box, but it just gets past the goal line for this opening goal. What did you think in this sequence?
I mean, looking at the overall playoffs that we've faced this year with the NWSL and all the teams, the goalkeepers have been put under pressure, and we've seen mistakes being made. In the opening match for San Diego, Kaylin Sheridan, Alyssa Nair making a mistake. Fallon Joyce made a mistake in this play on the shot coming from Loera. But if we rewind to the start of that play, the balls coming in from Kansas City, they weren't incredible crosses. There wasn't anything too ridiculous about what was happening, but it's like the OL Reign players got in each other's way and they couldn't clear it out. Quinn tries to kick it out. They can't get it through traffic. Then another player tries to kick it out and it can't get out, and it just squirts out a little bit, and Loera is there to run through it and get the shot. So the initial clearance is horrible from OL Reign because they can't get it more than 3 feet away from them, with Kaiser in the mix, Labonta in the mix, trying to get on top of this scrum. But then after the shot from Loera, Fallon Joyce, she can't grab hold of it. She can't jump on top of it. She gets a little bit of a touch, and then it trickles into the goal. And that's a mistake that we have not seen Fallon Joyce make this year. And it was very uncharacteristic of her as a goalkeeper that has 9 shutouts, the stingiest defense in the league. And I think it says so much more about Kansas City than it does about the defensive errors of OL Reign, because yes, there were defensive errors, but the pressure and the determination and the willingness and the ruthlessness from Kansas City to keep pounding during that play, and then for Loera to just strike it. I mean, what a way to start the game for Kansas City. It set the tone immediately, and it helped Kansas City for sure get on the board in these opening 5 minutes. That's back-to-back playoff games that Kansas City has a goal in the opening 5 minutes.
It's quite the impressive stat. Indeed, I had watching it happen in real time. I was like, of course, this is how the second semifinal gets started, with a very, very early goal like this. You and I both in the preview, Lisa, going with OL Reign, in this match, and for a number of reasons, and just sort of watching this match, especially after that first goal. Again, the response from OL I thought was quite good. We saw what they have done throughout the regular season. Generate attack, try to generate chances and facilitate that attack. Keep the opposition, honest in that sense. But just never finding that equalizer. And then early in the second half as well, this is an off the post shot by Jess Fishlock, who was celebrating a goal, but the sideline AR saying nope, not, saying that just rattled off the post, and it was still 1-0 at that point. And I was still, even with, I think you can have that, you could feel some type of way about it, is what I'm saying. There are going to be people who feel some type of way about some of the chances within this game for the Reign. But there were stretches of some of this game where I thought some of the players looked a little bit nervy, that the moment was a little bit big at certain times. And one of the things that we were talking about in the preview with going with OL Reign is look, we like their chances heading into this game, but I know for me, it was easy. I was saying that it was very easy to look at some of these players and circle them and say, these are players who are going to have an impact in the game, whether that was a Jess Fishlock or a Rose Lavelle, or even somebody like a Megan Rapinoe, who really brought it on for club in the later stages of the regular season. But that's not who I was going to be looking for to have an impact in these games. I wanted to see the young players of this OL Reign side take that next step and have that next level impact in a playoff game for this team. So I was looking for, a good performances out of, Sam Hyatt, Bethany Balser, Jordan Heidema, looking for these players to continue to sort of have these, play these roles and have these impacts on the pitch for the team. And I didn't think it was poor play out of Ulrich. I just have to think that there's a certain amount of time where and when the chances aren't going your way that perhaps you start to get a little frantic in moments. And it was tough to watch at times, to be quite honest, because it's just sort of knowing the opposition that they were facing and somebody like a Kansas City, where they could just sort of continue to play against you and stifle you and suffocate you a little bit, and then all of a sudden quickly change the script on you. It came right in the second half, Lisa.
It was like watching a boa constrictor attack its prey, strangle them, and then like eat them whole. And in the best way possible. The way Kansas City executed their defensive game plan was exactly like that, because all they did was pack players behind the ball. Yeah, I mean, it's like Animal Planet here. All they did was pack their players behind the ball, make it incredibly condensed centrally, allow Megan Rapinoe to have the ball in a wide area to send those crosses in, and then challenge anything that came in. I mean, we saw moments from Fishlock. I mean, as you mentioned, that initial shot off the crossbar that she thought was in, but there were moments where Fishlock found space at the top of the box. We saw Rose Lavelle get one or two opportunities at the top of the box, but there was just so much traffic from Kansas City dropping behind the ball and looking to pick it up. And then when they did win it, it was like, go, 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 off to the races, attacking. And the presence that Kansas City was attacking with wasn't like 9-8 players. It was like 3 or 4, while the others stayed defensively compact. And I wonder if there was that bit of defensive compactness and restraint from Kansas City because they went up a goal in the first 5 minutes. So it was like, okay, we're going to stick to our game plan and move quickly in transition. But instead of our 7 or 8 attacking players going forward, we're going to only send 3. That way we can hold it down in the back line a little bit. And I was just so impressed with how organized Kansas City was, because their formation in and out of possession was so incredibly fluid. And I got to speak with Matt Potter before this match, and I asked him about that, about how he knew his team was going to be able to rotate from one position to another, one formation seamlessly flow so fluidly. And he said he didn't know. He was hoping they would. And he put the players out there, and they were sponges. They absorbed the information. They understand so well. And that's what allowed them to be so fluid, going from one formational shape out of possession to with the ball attacking with different numbers than they were defending. And it was impressive to watch. I mean, Kansas City was impressive to watch tonight.
There was a few moments in this game where I wondered if these were going to be momentum shifting moments. You know, we saw and this is maybe where I'm going to pivot to the coaches battle again, because we've been talking about it all weekend, and I including this match in that as well, in Harvey versus Potter. We saw CC Kaiser have to come out of this game at 45 because of out of concussion protocol. Elise Bennett slotting in her place, I thought had an absolute great impact in this game off of the bench. It was like seamless. This team didn't miss a beat in terms of the chemistry on the pitch, no matter who was slotting in and slotting out for this team. And we saw an additional change for Kansas City in bringing off Addison Merrick and bringing on Rodriguez in her place. And this is also, just after this team gets that go-ahead goal. Right. So I liked the adjustments that were made by Kansas City in this match against Ole Reign. Disappointed that we didn't see more substitutions for Harvey and maybe a different look for the team kind of going forward. We did see Balser come out for Vander Yacht just sort of after or just ahead of the 70th minute, but just not enough in terms, I think, of being able to chase a game that was ultimately getting away from them. And there was, this set piece that did happen. There's another one of these awkward moments where people are like, when is VAR going to get in here? And I hate to break it your hearts, but VAR and goal line technology are two very different things. And
Yes.
goal line technology is what you probably wanted in this game, not VAR. So we saw a goal line clearance that stood as the call off of a set piece. Jordan Heidema, getting a little bit on it and sort of, hitting with the hands in the air like that's a goal. But these moments in which it just sort of felt like a force field was around this net against OL Reign. And quite frankly, it had a name, 80 French.
The force. Yes, I was just going to say the force field has a name, and it is 80 French. Wow, our brains are the same.
Oh yeah. Speak on it, Lisa. I'm giving it to you.
I mean,
preach.
Yes, it is 100% 80 French, because OL Reign was raining shots. They were raining opportunities. Because 14 corners in this game to Kansas City's 2. And it was constantly Megan Rapinoe whipping opportunities into the box. And if Kansas City defense wasn't getting to it first, it was Franch laying her body on the line, making incredible diving saves, one-handed saves. We saw so many times it was a last-minute save because Kansas City had so many bodies in the box. Franch couldn't even see all of the shots coming at her. I mean, it was just so impressive to watch Franch. 7 saves in this match. And they were off good shots and good opportunities from OL Reign. I mean, at the end of this, I like to look at expected goals just because it tells you a little bit more accurately instead of shots and shots on goal. And Laura Harvey's side ending with 1.34 expected goals to Kansas City's 0.81. So Kansas City wasn't even expected to get 1 goal in this match, and they ended up getting 2. And OL Reign expected at least 1, perhaps 1.5. We're getting close to that. It was because the pressure that OL Reign continued to put on. I mean, the closest opportunity coming, I think, from the corner kick where Ace tried to get onto it. It goes off the near post. It goes up. It looks like Franch can't really grab it. Something happens. And then she actually hits into Loera, who ends up dropping it. And Loera makes the goal line save to get it off. I saw a couple of replays of that. I don't think it crossed the line by any means. Of course, you don't know unless you're there looking at it or you got goal line technology. But, I mean, probably the closest chance that they had. And it wasn't even that clean of a chance, right? Like, it was a great save from Loera, but like, I don't know. I mean, the defense of Kansas City clearly outplayed the offense of OL Reign, and 80 French outplayed OL Reign.
It was an outstanding performance. I think at one point I was in my live tweeting of the match. I was just like, you could just see it. 7 red bodies in a box, just collectively defending against the Reign. Franch coming out of this game with 7 saves. There's 39 clearances for Kansas City coming out of this game. And that's from, if you're looking at another stat like crosses, where the Reign were serving in 47 crosses. It's ridiculous stats, and it's all part of the equation, I think, right? When you sort of look at some other parts in terms of how Kansas City was able to go on the road once more and win another postseason match. This time, this one means that they're going to go to the NWSL Championship final. So it's set. We have our 2 teams. We have our big date. It's going to happen. Spooky season in full effect. Halloween weekend, October 29th. The NWSL Championship final will be Portland Thorns FC against Kansas City Current. We're, of course, going to do a big preview about it. But for a couple minutes, for everyone who's taking the time tonight to join us live, let's chat a little bit about it. How do you feel about these 2 teams going head-to-head in the final?
If you asked me in October 23rd of 2021 if Kansas City would be in the NWSL Championship next year, I would have laughed. Not because I didn't believe that they could do it, but because Kansas City finished dead last in the league last year. They had 3 wins on the season. And this is a team that has done a complete 180 and turned around. And they have believed in themselves, and they have bought into the program that Matt Potter brought to this club. And it is really impressive to see them lay out a game plan like we saw against OL Reign and then execute it so well. And to be going up against a side like Portland Thorns, I mean, between Portland and San Diego, I mean, we both had Portland picked to win the semifinal and then to advance to this. I think that what we've seen from Portland is that they are a complete team. They fell short of winning the Shield. They ended up tying that match against Gotham, in which they could have walked away with the Shield, but now they get a little bit of redemption heading to the final against Kansas City. It's going to be a huge match. It's maybe not what we predicted at the start of it. We thought Kansas City was going to finish top 5 back in January when we made our early predictions, but they're finishing this one at the championship, and I'm expecting a really great game between these two teams because we've seen a lot of depth, a lot of incredible individual performances from both sides.
I'm so excited for it. I love that there is a Midwest representation in this championship final. You love to see it. I love to see it. Congratulations, absolutely, in order for Kansas City and punching their ticket to the final. Portland Thorns making their return to the championship final as well. I'm with you 100% so far on everything. While I'm very impressed with the performance that we've seen, not only just from tonight from Kansas City, but the current as a whole throughout the regular season. I don't know if that's going to be enough against this Portland Thorns team in the championship final. They did a really good job tonight of team defending, being very organized. French coming up with a ton of massive saves, still continuing her MVP caliber type of season for this team. But it's a little bit of a different beast, right? When you've got a Sophia Smith or a Morgan Weaver or a Christine Sinclair or a Crystal Dunn or a Sugita, the list goes on and on and on. So I'm a little bit curious to see how it's all going to play out, and we're going to get a front row seat to all the action in DC, and we are so excited about it. We hope you're excited about it too. Stay hyped, keep the energy going. It's NWSL Championship time, y'all. Thanks everybody for listening to Attacking Third. Download, follow, and listen to us wherever you get your podcast. If you like what you hear, leave us a 5-star rating and review. You can watch us too. Subscribe on YouTube to get alerts whenever we go live, and get your tickets to the NWSL Championship in Washington, D.C. You can see us, Attacking Third, and our live show. We will be back with more coverage, exclusive interviews for the NWSL Championship final. For Sandra Herrera and Lisa Roman, this was Attacking Third.